Andrew McCART, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. I'm out here in Cardiff, a rainy Cardiff. It was sunny earlier, but I'm here with my man David Diamante enjoying some cigars at a fine Italian restaurant. David, man, good to see you again. It's been a while.
It's great to see you, Andrew. And like you said, we're here in Cardiff. And yeah, it was sunny earlier, and we did the weigh-in at City Hall. Good turnout, a lot of people. It's a nice card. I like the fact that, you know, Cordina's getting a title shot in his hometown. I think it's great. But yeah, it's turned to rain, but it's okay. We had a great meal and smoking cigars and nice coffee, so everything's good.
Life is great, life is great. Listen, you mentioned Joe Cordina against Kenichi Ogawa. Tough fight for Joe, only his 15th professional fight. He has got that Olympian pedigree, that amateur pedigree. Just your thoughts on the fight itself. It's a tough one for Joe, isn't it?
Yeah, this is people that don't know Crush Right, Kenichi Ogawa. He's a very tough fighter. He's got a great right hand, and he's got a big heart. So, and of course, Joe Cordina also. So I think that we're going to see quite a fight. I think sometimes it can be a little tricky when you get a hometown fighter. Everyone says it's an advantage to fight at home, but sometimes I feel like maybe it can be a disadvantage if you have the crowd, especially depending on your fight style. You know, Joe kind of more of a boxer, right, and a technician. So if you have a crowd like really egging on their fighter, you know, you don't want your guy reaching too much and doing something maybe he shouldn't do when he should stick to his game plan. So hopefully Cordina will do that, and we'll see the best Joe Cordina. I think we will, though. I think he's going to be switched on. I think he understands the pitfalls of that. Like you said, he's got great pedigree, obviously an Olympian, training with Tony Sims, and I think he's ready for the task. I think we're going to see a really good fight, but it's not an easy fight.
I mean, the fights after this, if he does win, I mean, you look at Shakur Stevenson, Gutierrez is there. It's a tough old division, that super featherweight division, especially a unification. If that ever comes against some people calling him the pound-for-pound future star in Shakur Stevenson. So the fights after this fight, they're going to be life-changing.
I think Shakur Stevenson is phenomenal. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's just so talented. So I think as far as for Cordina, let's get this one title and see where he goes from there. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of great fighters out there, especially at the weight. So, you know, but he's got to get this one, and he's got Kenichi Ogawa in front of him, who's a really tough fighter. So we'll see if he can do it. You know, the crowd's definitely going to be there, and it's a big night for him. And I love, you know, I want to give props to Eddie because, you know, to have him, you know, step Joe up the way he has, and he gets Joe the world title shot in his hometown. It's just great. This is all that a fighter can ask for, you know, and you know, Eddie or any promoter can't go in there and fight the fight for their fighter, but they can get the fights for their fighter, and that's what he's done. So it's going to be interesting.
Definitely. Well, the rest of the card, there's another super featherweight on the card in Selfa Barrett. He's up against Korobor. I can't remember. Forgive me, I can't remember his name. Maybe you could. Korbanov. That's it. Well done. I knew you'd save me there, David. Tough opponent. He gave Joe Cordina a tough fight. Tough fight for Selfa Barrett, but again, he's high up in the IBF rankings as well. So if we get two British guys in Joe Cordina and Selfa Barrett winning their fights, we could see that fight. But again, we can't look past his opponent on Saturday night as well, Selfa Barrett.
No, he absolutely can't. Oh, that'd be a nice little fight down the line, Manchester v Wales. But no, he's got Korbanov. Korbanov's not a big puncher, but he's got an engine, and he gave Cordina, like you said, a very tough fight. So I think it's a good test for Zelfa, and we'll see if he can become European champion. It's great, and they're at the same weight, so we'll see what happens.
Another kid on the card, and Dalton Smith. Now, Eddie Hearn basically told me in the interview today that he's probably one of the best 140-pounders already. I mean, quite a big statement for Eddie to say that to Dalton Smith, who's yet to have that signature fight yet. I mean, he's a talented kid. I've been there since his debut, but it's a lot. Is that a lot of pressure for Dalton Smith, for Eddie Hearn to say that he's one of the best 140-pounders already? When you look at that division, when you look at Josh Taylor, Jack Carroll, Regis Prograis, you've got Harlem Eubank there, you've got all these top. Jose Ramirez is still hanging about, Teofimo Lopez is up there now, so it's a tough old division. Again,
shark-filled waters. Dalton Smith looks so sharp, and I think he's one of the big rising stars out of the UK fight scene. Obviously fighting out of Sheffield, trained by his dad Grant. again, we don't really know who these guys are until they get into really tough opposition. He's fighting Mauro Peruini, who's from Argentina, very tough customer. I don't know if he's the best fighter, but he's extremely tough. We saw him in an absolute war. I think it was down in Spain. There is no quit in Peruini. I think the referee actually stopped that fight that he was in the final round, which was a little bit upsetting because he had gone through this whole, like the ref could have stopped that fight at so many different times, but then in the final round he chose to stop it. But either way, Peruini is extremely tough, and Dalton Smith is just, he's got the skills and he also has the power. So he's really, really fun to watch, and I do think he's a big rising star. Again, we really need to see him against some of these other top guys to see really where he's going to fall and if he's really going to make it to that next step in the sport.
One more fight on the card, Sky Nicholson. 4 fights already in 90 days since her debut. I mean, she's been busy. She doesn't seem like she's tired, but she has been very, very busy. This is her 4th fight in 90 days, so another special talent coming through from Eddie Hearn.
Yeah, and I think she's stepping up to an 8-rounder. It's great. She's getting exposure. I think that, we're probably going to be dipping our toe in the Australia market pretty soon, which is great. And I think that Sky is going to get a chance to go home after this fight, so she's going to have a little time off, which is nice. And, of course, I got to give a big shout-out to Cambosos and Haney, who are fighting down in Australia this weekend also. Great fight that I can't wait to watch, after our fight. But, yeah, so it's going to be great to see Sky, and she's stepping up in class and see what she brings.
You mentioned away from the Cardiff fight, there's that Devin Haney and Cambosos fight. I think it's on tomorrow morning, is it? Is it tomorrow morning? So it'll be Saturday night, 3 o'clock Australian time, which would mean it'll be 5 o'clock our time tomorrow in the morning. I think I'm not sure, I don't know what the time differences are, but tough fight, good fight, another undisputed fight. I mean, it seems like boxing's putting a lot more emphasis on that undisputed, that one man, one face sort of in that division. So it's good for the lightweight division and boxing to find out who is the number one guy in that division. It's
great for the sport. It's what we always want. Right, we want the best fighting the best, and when you have an undisputed champ, that's what it means, undisputed. There's no dispute. We know who's the best. So I think if that's what the trend is, let's continue it. It's just great. Obviously Usyk did it at cruiserweight. Some people think that Cambosos is undisputed because they think Lomachenko was undisputed and Tiafimo was undisputed. But either way, there was a little bit of a dispute. Now there's not going to be a dispute because Haney has the other piece of the pie from the WBC that people want to see. So it's a great fight. Cannot wait to see it. Of course, there's all the stuff that Bill can't get into to Australia.
Wait, just on that, did you not see the news today that they think that they might have got him in with a visa just now, so they're trying to get him a flight to get out there as soon as possible? So I don't know if you heard that today. That was the news broke this morning that Bill has finally got his visa to get to Australia. Yeah, and I also heard stuff about a cut man that wasn't able to get in, different things like that. Either way, I think a lot of it's gamesmanship. On the night, it's going to be 2 men in there, and that's George and Devin, and they're the ones that they're going to have to settle this. So no matter who's in whose corner, those are the 2 guys fighting. Maybe it's gamesmanship, maybe it's not. Look, it's always great to have your team there. The one thing I can hope for Devin is that he's there and acclimated to the time zone. Obviously, I've spent time out in Australia and New Zealand, and it is tough with the time zone. But that's my life. I'm traveling constantly. So for someone like me, it's not as bad. But for a fighter, they really need to be there and get acclimated. So hopefully Devin is up to the task. And I think we're going to see a great fight. Talking about great fights and great fighters, I believe you were at the Tank fight the other week there against Romero. Another special talent in Tank Davis. Now, I know you've announced many a great fighters into the ring. Now, Eddie Hearn's... It's tongue-in-cheek with Eddie. You know what Eddie's like, but he did say that he might break the bank to sign Tank. Man, how do you feel about that? Listen, Tank is a special fighter, man. Tank is a popular fighter. He's an explosive fighter, and I love watching him fight. And I like his whole team, Snapper and those guys. I mean, I just dig them. So I'm a big fan of Tank. I was at the fight at Barclays Center the other night with Rolly Romero. And, basically it's just amazing the high level of these guys because, an outsider might watch the fight and say, oh, Romero's winning rounds or Romero won some rounds, which he, you could say he did or he didn't, whatever. But it's the timing. It's like once a guy gets the timing down, a special fighter,
again, they're downloading some information in those early rounds. But once they get it, and you saw Gervonta setting that trap, and then just like a spider, just luring him into his lair and just striking. So I thought it was a great performance. I thought it was explosive. Rolly's never been knocked down. He got stopped. It was just great, and it was a great crowd. It was a sellout. We need more of that in boxing.
On a personal note, though, would you like to announce Tank at the ring? Could you? On a personal level for you, I know you've all these champions. World heavyweight title fights you've announced. You've done it all, but something like Tank, who's a great fighter in itself, and Eddie Hearn, he wants to break into that US market. Tank is Eddie, you can say he's broken into the US market. He's put big fights in the US, but he needs that big US fighter. And Tank is Tank that guy?
Tank could be that guy without a doubt. I mean, he's one of the guys, and look, again, Tank is a guy that brings a lot of excitement to the ring, and he's an authentic guy, and the streets love him. There was a great crowd there, and people are interested in when he fights. There are so many great fights for him at different weights, and I think that he's viable in any of those weights against any of those fighters. And a lot of people were talking about Ryan Garcia and Tank. That's a massive fight. It's a massive fight. So it would be great. I don't know, the talks or who's signing who, or I know that Tank said that he was going to leave Mayweather Promotions, then I heard he wasn't, then he was. I don't know. None of that's my business. I'm an MC, so if he comes to us, I'd love to call him.
Listen, I've got to get your thoughts on it as well. Another big thing, like Robert Garcia, former world champion, great coach in his own right, coached many a world champion, Marcus Maidana and his brother Mikey, to name just two. He's now in Anthony Joshua's camp ahead of the Usyk rematch. Good move for Joshua to bring in someone like Robert Garcia, and was a change needed, do you believe?
And Fernando Vargas and Brandon Rios, Bam Bam, and his brother Mikey, multiple champions coming out of Boxnard, right?
I like the little play on Oxnard. I like that, David. I like that.
Yeah, Robert Garcia, he's class, and like you said, former world champion, a great trainer. But to me, a trainer, it's not a one-size-fits-all type of situation. I think that there are many great trainers in the world, and I think that depending on who the fighter is, a trainer has to fit them specifically, personality-wise, style-wise. So if AJ and Robert have a synergy, then that's great. This is a massive fight for AJ coming back to face Usyk again in the rematch. And it's a fight that, obviously he really wants to win, and I think it's going to be really hard. I think Usyk is, his confidence is through the roof. I think he's fighting for a lot more now than even just the titles, and I think also that he really, really wants to be undisputed. So I think he wants to face Tyson Fury, Usyk. I know that a lot of people think that's not a good idea because of the size, but either way, he proved people wrong one time by beating AJ. Can he do it again? I tend to think that AJ can win this fight. I'm not saying he will. I think he can. I think that he needs to know that he's a lion and not a kitty cat. When you have an advantage, if you don't use it, it's not an advantage. So AJ is a bigger man. He's a stronger man. He's a taller man. Use those advantages. Usyk is a supreme boxer. So I don't know if trying to outbox a great boxer is, I'm not saying AJ's not, but Usyk is spectacular. So trying to outbox Usyk might not be the right ploy. Trying to maybe fight Usyk would be the ploy. So possibly Robert Garcia might be the right fit for that. I don't know what they're doing in their camp, but hopefully it is, and we're going to find out quite soon.
Go and sign me off where the fight starts now, David. That's your signature thing now. Go and do it for me, man. We'll sign off here because my right arm is killing me holding this camera up. I hope you appreciate the love I've got for you here, man, because my right arm is dying. So just sign me off where the fight starts now. Let's go.
All right, Andrew, from the four corners of the world to the four corners of this table right here in Cardiff, Wales. The fight starts now.
Perfect way to end it. Cheers, David. Thank you, brother.
Welcome, Team Everlast, to the Team Everlast Fitness app. Download the Everlast Fitness app and find your greatness within.